Okay, so I'm just going to show the integration we've set up between Talis Aspire and Primo, our discovery tool. To start with, I'm just going to show it in operation. I'll just do a search. Okay, so there's three ways to see a reading and whether an item is on a reading list. The first is by clicking the Details tab. So you may have seen on the right hand side there that a few links were added to this item here. I'll do that again for another item, this third one down. Click on Details. And then fairly quickly you'll see after you click on Details, the reading list link appears, and a second or so after that, any links to any reading lists it's on will show up. As I record this, we're in the middle of changing from one year to the next, hence the same list appears twice. So that's one way. The second way is if we click on this little button here, which opens it in a new tab, which and you'll notice that when this page loads, it goes straight to the Details tab, and fairly quickly it was showing the links to the reading lists and an option to add to your reading list. While I suspect many users don't click on that little link there, this particular page view is quite important. It's what you will end up on if you are sent a link or you return from a sort of saved search or something like that. For example, if you go to this menu here and choose permalink and was to send that URL to someone, you would end up on a page like this. This is opening a new tab. I'll just close that tab to go back to where we were. The third one, which I think certainly for our staff and academics seems a fairly common one, is you can click on the link itself. I'm going to choose this top one here. And just notice that this page is slightly different to the previous page in that it's actually taking us to what we call our locations page. For those who administer Primo, this is actually the Get It tab. So you need to click on the Details tab, and sure enough, fairly quickly the links show up here. So though all these three ways in probably look quite similar, they are quite different behind the scenes, so worth noting. How to install this, how to use this into another version of Primo? Well, the code, we've put it in a separate file. Hopefully you can see on ours, it just sits on our university web server, just as a normal text file with JavaScript code in. Anyone can go along and copy that and save it to a file locally themselves. At that point, you can add something to your footer HTML in Primo, or you can just put all this code inside the footer HTML itself. If I was to look at this page here and click on View Source, you'd find at the bottom there's just a link to that JavaScript file. I'm going to spend the rest of the time just looking at some of the code. Not really, it's nothing particularly of interest, though it perhaps might be useful if you need to edit it at all, and there may be reasons why you need to edit it. Before I do that, I do just want to go back quickly and in a slightly more technical way, just look at some of these pages we've been looking at. We'll stick on the same search for time being. So if I was to choose the details tab here, and we go and just use Chrome's inspect element. Here we go, and okay. So you can see that button. It has a class called EXL details tab, and it has an ID of xlid result to details tab. And the reason for the 2 is that it's the third one down. So with the first result being 0, 1, 2 is the second, its ID is 2. This is quite important for us because clearly on this screen here, we can have more than one details tab open. And the way the script works is it goes looking for ISBNs, and then it asks us via whether there's any reading lists with that ISBN on it. And clearly what you don't want is, when looking at this book here, for the script to find an ISBN in a different book's details tab and use that instead, and you then have the wrong results. And likewise, when adding to this links list down here, you want to make sure you're adding it to the links list on this details tab and not the one up here. So selecting the right details tab is quite important. The reason for explaining this will become clear in a second. Going to this view here, the short of this is that as there's only one record on screen, it's always result 0. So you can see here that the ID is again, as I said, result 0. And if we go to the result, the details tab content itself, you can see it's actually saying 1 there, but if I just go down a bit further, sorry, no, I made a mistake. It's the contents of the tab is always numbered 1, even if the details tab itself is 0. So my mistake, but it's always 1 on this screen. The final one is when someone clicks on here. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, though the screen is very similar, though you have to click on details tab for it to load, this one behind the scenes is quite different. It's quite a different page, which is somewhat annoying. So here we can see the details tab is 0, but in actual fact, if I was to choose contents, you'll see that is actually number 2, because it's remembered that we came from what was the third link down in results page, and hence number 2. This means you can't rely on the idea that you can't just take the number associated with that details tab link and go looking for the contents matching that number, because on this screen that won't work, which I found out. It took rather longer than how I'd have spoke it. There's other some slightly annoying things here. This ID number only has 1 dash in it. The other ID numbers have 2 dashes in it. So that was all great fun. But anyway, just to go to the code, which again I'm just showing really just to get an idea in case you need to change it at all. It's standard jQuery, Primo load jQuery out of the box. We'll start down here. On page load, you'll see we call this function do a spy integration, and we're passing it identifier 1. The reason for this, if you think about it, the only time we need to run the code on page load is on that screen where the details tab is there the moment you load the page, when this is the second scenario I showed. And in that case, as I mentioned, we always know that the ID number is going to be 1, so that's what we're passing here. So we do a spy integration. I'm actually going to skip the first bit of this and come back to that. But you see, really, it's only got two key bits. It goes and gets the ISBNs using that ID number, and then it tries to get the reading lists from those ISBNs. So let's have a look at those. So here you see a simple function to get the ISBNs. It's essentially just two regular expressions looking for the two different lengths of ISBN. If your Primo has been set up, and I know someone I've spoken to an email has mentioned this, if your Primo has been set up to display the ISBNs a little bit differently, maybe there's a colon between the letters ISBN and the actual number itself, then this will need to be tweaked a little bit. But this is what works for us. So it will use the 13 digit if it's got that, and if not, it will try for a 10 digit. And that's essentially that. I think this is probably a good point to point out what a lot of this then caters for that third scenario where the number doesn't quite match up. And in that case, well, we know that when look on that third scenario, the identifier will be 0. So if that's the case and it hasn't already met the other two options there, it will try and look through the page looking for ISBNs a bit more liberally, looking for the whole of the content of the page, sorry, of the details tab. Moving on, so I'm just going back down to where we were originally, so that's just getting the ISBNs. There's a similar function to try and get the DOI if the ISBNs failed, and then we try and get the reading lists as a result of that. So essentially we build up a URL based on the ISBNs we found, or the DOIs we found. We call the Aspire API, and then if we were successful, there's a callback function. I'll just jump up here, slide it all over the place. So there's a callback function. So any results we get back, it will output some relevant HTML to add the links to that right hand side, and it also adds the my bookmarks link as well. Perhaps the final thing just to show is at the bottom of the page, sorry, at the bottom of the code, we need to cater for when someone actually clicks on the details tab. So if you remember on the main results page, details tab doesn't show straight away. You have to click on the details tab and then something has to happen. And it's worth noting that unlike some web design, the Primo system doesn't, it's not hiding that details tab and then when you click on it, it immediately show it. It loads it when you click on that tab. So when the details tab, a class with the details tab is clicked, it will try and get the ID number of that tab and then basically do what we've just already seen. You'll notice at the very end that we have to wait for the contents of that tab to load before we can do anything with it. This is somewhat crude. I've seen on the main list better ways of doing it, but this is what we're using. So essentially it just waits about a second or so before trying to look for those ISBNs, because obviously you can't go and find the ISBNs and before the details tab has loaded. So that's basically it. Good luck.